Good evening. Hello, hello. If you're hearing me, I believe we are live. Let me just activate this chat box right here. Guys, I'm so pumped. Hi, I see a couple of people have joined and you are all so punctual. I love it. I apologize. I'm a bit shiny. I don't know about you guys, but at the end of the day, I'm always like a hot mess, like just sweaty. Bedtime just gets to me. So hi, Amanda, Erin, Gisela, Kathy, Molly. Hello, hello. Say hi in the chat box if you are here. Just open this chat box. Hi, Erin. Guys, I'm so excited. Gisela says we have to drop by at one point of baby bedtime. Okay. Oh, it's 5 p.m. Yes, you know how I feel about bedtime. So it is going to be recorded. So just to give you a bit of a lowdown, this is an hour session that we're doing. I'm going to try to answer all of your questions within this hour, but this is being recorded. So I will be sending you the replay tomorrow. You said, don't worry about it. You can watch back. There's a lot of things here that you're going to want to watch back and take notes. So if you have a pen and paper, that would be great so that you can start taking some notes, but you also get the recording. In addition to that, I'm going to send you a link. With Gisela, you already have this one, but it's a link to a PDF download with a checklist that's going to guide you through everything, okay? So if you have to drop off, I totally understand time zones, and I don't know, is everybody here? I know Gisela's in the US, but are we all here from Canada? Can you just put it in the chat? I'd love to know where everybody's from. Hi, Blair. I know you're from Toronto. Emily's in Toronto, Montreal. Amanda's in Montreal, Toronto. Lots of Toronto, lots of local. That's amazing. Etobicoke, right in my backyard, Amanda. We probably live very close to each other. Woodstock, Ontario. Amazing. So awesome. So I'm going to get started because we are jamming a ton of information into this 1 hour, and I want to make sure that I honor your time, I respect your time, and you all have things to do, including go to sleep, because I know if you're in this masterclass, it means that you're waking up very early in the morning. Can I get a hell yeah in the comments? You probably are getting up and are just exhausted by this time of the day, and you want to go watch Netflix or just hang out. And yeah, so early, so tired. Oh my God, yes, I feel you. And so I want to be very respectful of your time and your free time that you get when your kids go to bed. So let's get started. To begin with, I want to just kind of give you some expectations for the presentation. There is a Q&A box, and I always ask that if you have a question that you want me to answer during the Q&A portion, that you put it into that box so that we can keep all questions on one. It's hard to go back and forth between that and the chat. And the chat we'll use to clarify anything, to chat to each other during the presentation. If there's something that you don't understand or you need clarification on during the presentation, please, please, please feel free to put that into the chat. And then we'll leave the Q&A for only questions at the end. So I hope that's good. I'm going to cover a ton today, and this is not meant to overwhelm you. I just want to give you all of the information and the tools that you need in an hour. Now, having said this, at the end of this class, I'm going to be posting the link, or you might have already received it in your emails, on how you can access my support for a free 30-minute call where we can go over your plan so you feel confident and ready to go at the end of this, okay? So, and if you need any additional support, then I'll definitely let you know how you can get that, okay? So I want to make sure that you feel that you leave this class feeling pumped, ready to address this issue, and confident that you know what to do. Okay. Like I say to all my clients, I want you to feel confident that you can handle any sleep problem. Okay. So I want to know before we get started what ages your babies are. I always like to ask this because I always target or talk about different ages, and I'd love to know what ages we're working with here. So 9.5 months, okay. 12.5, Emily says 8 months. 14, they're coming in fast and furious. Jules, hi Jules. 7 months, 13 months, okay. 9 months. So we're looking at between 8 months and 13 months. Very typical. Rachel, 6 months. 1 year. Oh, happy birthday to your little one, Michelle. 1 year tomorrow. That's a huge milestone. That's like 365 days that you've been waking up early. I mean, like, wow. And almost 2. Amazing. So I'm going to talk about different issues about different of these age groups. Now, the only thing I'm not going to talk about, because I don't have anybody over 2.5, and if there is, please put it into the chat. And if you want to talk about it, is sleep trainer clocks, because I don't recommend them for any toddlers under 2.5. But if you want me to talk about them, put it in the questions in the Q&A. Okay. I believe I have a blog on sleep trainer clocks, and if not, I will put one together for you. Okay. And tell me the times that you are waking up. Tell me, Amanda says, I'm interested in the guidelines for 2.5. Okay, we can talk about that for sure. What times are your babies waking up? I want to see how tired you are. 5:30. Okay. 5 to 6. We're looking at lots of 5s here. Nicole says 5. 5:30, 5 to 5:30. Okay, so we're looking at a lot of 5:30 wake ups. Amanda, 4:15. I got you, girl. 5 a.m. to sometimes 3:30. Okay. And Jewel says 4:30 to 6:15. Okay. So yeah, so a lot of those are considered early mornings. We're going to talk about what is deemed early mornings and what is not. What is fair game, as we like to say. But I want to tell you this, and I want you to reassure you that early mornings are the most common sleep problem. They're the most common. And on top of that, they are the hardest to resolve. Okay? So you are in the right place. But I really want to set some expectations from the very beginning, because here's the truth. I'm going to tell you it like it is right now. Early mornings are not going to be resolved overnight. Okay? Changing a human's circadian rhythm and biological clock takes time, and it takes a lot of consistency. How much time? You're looking at between 1 to 3 weeks, and I would say closer to 3 weeks to start to see results if you're consistent. Now, I know that's a bit of a bummer that it takes so long, but really we're moving our internal clocks, so we need to take the time. And often what I hear from parents is that you get really frustrated because you don't see the results right away, and therefore you assume that it's not working, right? And you change it up. How many of you do this? Is like, it's not working, what do I do next, right? I'm going to give you the tips that you need, the signals that you need to watch out for to give you the reassurance that it is working. Okay. But I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to stop halfway before you start to see all of your hard work start to show. Okay. Stick with me here. We're going to get you there, but it does take time. Okay. So thank you for being here tonight. And I want to kind of go into how you must be feeling. I know there's a lot of people that said, hell yeah, I'm tired. It's been since 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, okay? You could be feeling frustrated. I get that. Desperate for sleep, especially at 5 a.m. We are desperate for sleep at that time. Agitated. Emotional. How many of you feel like extra emotional when you don't sleep well, like you have a lack of control or anxious. This brings up a lot of anxiety for parents. Even if their babies are sleeping, are awake, and they wake up and they're watching the monitor, they can't go back to sleep, right? I do the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm awake now for the day. So definitely anxiety. So if you want to know if you're in the right place, here's a list of things that will tell you. If you get up anytime before 6 a.m. with your little one, if you're frustrated with early mornings and you want your baby and toddler to sleep later, if you can't figure out why you're getting up so early every day and you need some solutions like ASAP, and you feel tired and nothing has worked, you've tried it all, you are like a zombie all day, you just don't want to feel like a zombie anymore, and your baby is sleeping longer stretches at night and putting themselves to sleep independently, hello, hooray for that. That's amazing. But this is like the last thing that just won't get fixed, that won't resolve, and you're just getting frustrated. But you are here now. Together, we will resolve it, okay? And sorry, just need to move this. So whether this has been going on for months, weeks, or even just recently, early wake-ups can be resolved. They do take time, as I said, they do take patience, but you have to understand what is happening, why it's happening, and what steps you can take to make that difference. We always want a plan of action, and you'll be getting one tonight. You'll be getting the next steps, okay? And I think also when I work with clients, there has to be a shift in your thinking, in your thought process, because you can't put a baby to sleep, especially at 5 a.m., okay? And we're gonna talk about why. But it's the hardest time to attempt to make your baby sleep. It's not gonna work, okay? You can set them up with the greatest conditions and help them learn to sleep on their own, and that is the biggest difference, okay? You don't have to know it all, but I'm going to teach you what you need to know, and as long as you're willing to learn and get rid of that pressure that we all put this on ourselves as parents to control anything that has to do with sleep, right? That pressure creates stress. And let me tell you that nobody can sleep under stress. That's the fight or flight that comes out. And that's why we as adults have trouble sleeping, because anxiety is fight or flight, releases those same cortisol and adrenaline that our babies get if they're overtired. And that stress that we have really is magnetic. Our babies pick up on that so much, okay? So it's really just about changing our thinking. We also don't have to feel bad or guilty that we're doing something wrong. There's no wrong thing here. If what you're doing is serving you, then amazing. If you're not happy with your early mornings, then there's a way to change that, and that's why you're here. So I'm going to go through an outline of what we're going to learn tonight. So the first thing we're going to go through is why your baby is waking up early in the morning. So we're going to talk about some science. I'm going to bust out some graphs for you so that you understand exactly what's going on. What environmental factors cause early mornings? We're going to talk about those because those need to be addressed first. We're going to give you a checklist of what to look for and why they're happening. And then we're going to talk about what to do when they do happen, 4 approaches. They range from comfort levels on what you want to do. So you can take them back, talk to your partners, and come up with one approach that you want to take. And signs that it's working so that you don't give up. And how to apply this. And then we're going to go into Q&A. How does that sound? Just give me a thumbs up if it's good. Sound good? Let me just check. Throw it in the chat so I can kind of see that you're with me here. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle, Jules. Okay. Amazing. Good. I'm going to take a sip. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to reassure you that working on sleep is worthwhile. These are just excerpts from some of my, oh, am I pressing the wrong button? Some of my clients, and some of you are my clients in here, and you probably wrote these. So if you see your quote, then you are amazing, pretty much. So just some idea of what you're going to feel like after you work on sleep. And you've probably already felt this way if you've been working on sleep and your baby used to wake up multiple times at night and now sleeps through the night. Before I go further, I'm going to introduce myself. I want to share a little bit about me. A lot of you know me already, but I want to share that I'm a mom of 2 beautiful babies. My daughter is 21 months old and my son is 3 years old. And I have 2 great little sleepers, but it's not always that way, or wasn't always that way. I want to tell you that I have had my fair share of early mornings. And I can tell you firsthand how frustrating it is. It's so frustrating. What do? Do you get them up? Do they wake up the entire house? Do you wait to see if they fall asleep? And then you're just awake and stressed out, right? And then the rest of the day you're tired. So not knowing why it's happening is going to be important, or why it's happening is going to be important, because you don't want to get into a cycle of overtired. That's really hard to get out of. You can, and I'm going to walk through it with you. And I know a lot of you might be in this cycle of early morning, short naps, and you can't get out of it, right? And I'm going to share with you how I've gotten over it. My clients have gotten over it. And let me tell you, I still have early mornings. It happens. My baby gets overtired. My daughter, I'm going to tell you right now, she was at daycare today. And when I went to pick her up, her teacher was like, I always ask, how did she sleep? Because obviously that's important to me. And she was like, she had no nap. She did not nap. My daughter naps 2 hours from 12:30 to 2:30. She did not nap today. Daycare, it happens. I stressed out. And guess what time my daughter was in bed? She was in bed at 5:30 in the afternoon because she had had no nap. She had a couple of meltdowns and we did an early bedtime. So it happens to me. And we do expect an early wake up tomorrow, right? But I'm going to kind of go through with you how I deal with them. Because if your baby's overtired, it's going to happen, but it doesn't have to be a long-term thing. It could just be a one blip, right? Has anybody faced that? Like they don't nap at daycare or they skip a nap and then you're stressed out? Yeah. Yes, exclamation, exclamation, Amanda, I know. All the time. So we're going to talk about that. The best thing we can do is know how to troubleshoot. Going through it right now. Oh, Danielle, I feel you. So as a pediatric sleep consultant, I work with babies of all ages, and I get you back on track to make sure that things are looking good. But it's your job to keep reinforcing and keep consistent, okay? The one thing I will say though is that changing sleep is a lifetime thing. It's not over and done with, right? You have to change your approach all the time, even when hiccups happen. And your response will determine your baby's actions. Okay, so if you're responding in a certain way at the beginning of the night and you're responding in a different way at the end of the night or in the early morning, then you're not being consistent, right? So your response will determine your baby's expectation of you and their actions. I know that was deep. But a couple of things that we have to talk about first about early mornings, okay? Early morning wake-ups happen anytime after 6 a.m., okay? So anytime before 6 a.m. is considered an early morning wake-up. Anytime between 6 and 7 is considered fair game. I'm sorry to say that. People hate hearing that. 6:30, I would say between 6:30 and 7 is a biological normal wake up time for children under 6 years old. So if you're expecting to sleep till 8 o'clock, I'm so sorry. You probably will not get there. You might, there are unicorn babies, but most likely you're looking between 6 and 7. If you get some 7:30s, that's amazing. And it takes 1 to 3 weeks, like I said, to see results. And it's usually the last thing. And I'm going to explain to you why it's the last thing to resolve itself. The other thing I would say is a lot of parents ask me, what if my child has lower sleep needs? And yes, totally. Your child could have a lower sleep need, but it's very rare. I would say it's in like the single percentages of children that need less than 11 to 12 hours of sleep. So totally could be, but it's not very likely, right? We're looking at like maybe at under 10%. So I want to talk to you right now about the biology of sleep, because this is going to be so important in understanding everything. So let's take a look at what sleep is looking like overnight. Okay, a lot of you have seen my graphs before, but this is just to show you what it looks like, what sleep patterns look like. If you look at the little hearts up there, they represent wake-ups. This is how many times your baby is waking up at night. Obviously, it could happen more. Most likely it's every 2 hours. And if you look at the graph, you can tell that the beginning half of the night, we're looking at the deepest stages of sleep. The deep sleep is called, they are very creative with their names of sleep, but the stages of sleep are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the deepest stages are stage 3 and 4 of sleep. This is what you get at the beginning of the night. You get the most restorative sleep, the non-REM sleep, the sleep where a lot of long-term memory, skills development, everything happens in this deep sleep. You are starting to partially wake up and put yourself back down, but your sleep drive is so strong at that time that it's a lot easier. And this is why I always say nights are so easy to fix as opposed to naps and early mornings. So your sleep drive is working along with you, right? You also have the highest level of melatonin in your body, the lowest level of cortisol and adrenaline, and those are stress hormones that I want to talk about when we talk about overtired, but those are at their lowest. As you can tell, as you hit 1 a.m., what starts to happen is that that melatonin starts to drop off. The cortisol and adrenaline start to increase. Your body temperature has to be at its lowest point at around 1 to 3 in the morning, and then it starts to rise. So technically your body is starting to wake up after 3 a.m. And that's why when you look at this graph, you're seeing very light stages of sleep and lots of wake ups between 3 and 6 a.m., right? Your body, you're almost working against your body. And it's a lot harder to fall asleep at that time. So whereas at 12 o'clock or 9 o'clock or bedtime, it was a lot easier because our sleep drive was pushing it. At this point, we have no sleep drive, right? Or little. So our bodies are working against us. So hopefully this helps you to understand and explain why your attempts have not been working, okay? Because we have melatonin and it cycles through our body 24 hours a day. But at 6 p.m., it starts to rise and it peaks and falls under midnight, as I said. And the cortisol and adrenaline do the opposite. And so this is why bedtime is a lot easier for many. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Just gonna take a drink. So when their baby wakes up in the early hours of the night, they're gonna have to work double as hard to put themselves back down to sleep. This doesn't mean that they can't do it. This just means that they got to use those skills that they've been working on, right? So I want to talk about possible reasons why your baby might be getting up. The first one is, I say this all the time, and I know I sound like a broken record, but guys, light. Light is so important. Any light in the room after at all will start to stimulate the brain. It's going to start to cause your body to produce serotonin instead of melatonin. And because your melatonin levels are already super low, it's just going to wake your baby up and they will not be able to go back down. So I always say blackout blinds. Keep the room as dark. You want the room to be in the same condition as it is in the middle of the night or at bedtime. Nothing changes. If anything changes at those early hours, you're going to get a wake up. And you're going to not only get a wake up, because you're usually going to get it anyway, but you're going to have a hard time falling back asleep. Okay. So I get this question a lot. It's like, when can I stop using blackout blinds? Never. Blackout blinds are the best for adults, for anybody. And to be honest with you, it really does come down to a temperament thing. Some babies can sleep in the light and it doesn't bother them. But if you have a baby that's temperament is like mine, I cannot sleep in the light. And so it's just a temperament, personal thing, right? But most humans sleep better in the dark. So I would keep your blackout blinds for as long as you can. Cover those windows, no light. We're not looking at night lights, nothing. If you do have to have a night light, I would make it a red light. Also, I find that toddlers in the complete darkness are not distracted by their toys or their books and are bored. So they don't get up and start to play if they can't see what's going on, right? So that will help you as well. The second thing is temperature. Is it too hot at that time, right? Their body temperature is rising. Are they getting too hot? Are they getting cold? So I want you to check off these before you go to bed so that you are confident that it's none of this. The other thing I would say is that if your baby's over 9 months old, I would check their diet and make sure that they are taking in enough protein. So you're looking at between 25 and 50 grams of protein, either meat or veggie protein, to make sure that it's not hunger, that they're not hungry, that they're eating well during the day. You can also get a dip in glucose levels that could wake them up, right? So sugary food before bed. Also, a lot of parents worry that their babies are hungry at this time. And so I would want to make sure that they're getting enough nutrients during the day so that you feel confident that it's not hunger. And if you feel like it's hunger, then try one of the days that you are getting up at that time that your baby's getting up, don't feed them until 7 and see if it is hunger, right? It will help reassure you that it's usually not. But make sure they're eating well during the day. You want to eliminate that from your mind because I know that's a worry of a lot of parents. And thirst too. Make sure they're getting enough water or milk, or if they're under 6 months, they might still need a feed, right? So try to weave that in there. The fourth thing I would say is noise. If you're, at midnight, you can probably go in and put away their laundry and they won't wake up. But if you walk by the door or you turn on the shower at 5 a.m, that could cause a wake up because they're in such a light stage of sleep. So is there any noise that is waking them up? So make sure you go through all of these. Before you start implementing anything, you want to do a little bit of a checklist so that you know that none of these are anything that could be affecting it. Okay? How do you feel about all that information? I know that's a lot. Yes? Let me take a sip. Awesome. Thank you, Blair. Good. Thank you, Kathy. Amazing. Tell me if I'm talking too fast because I'm very passionate about this. So I'll try to slow down. Okay. The next thing I want you guys to look at is, can your baby settle independently? If your baby cannot settle to sleep independently at night, there's absolutely no way they're going to be able to do it in the morning at 5 a.m. So they have to have those skills so well down packed. If your baby needs your assistance to fall asleep, whether it be at bedtime or at 3 a.m., whatever it is, can your baby fall asleep, go from awake to drowsy to asleep all by themselves? This is going to be the most important, right? Because they're going to need to know these skills. And if your baby cannot, then I want you to hold on to this recording. I want you to put it aside. I want you to work on your nights, reach out to me. We can fix your nights and then come back to this, because I don't want you to stress out and have a different expectation. We can't choose when we assist them. So we have to be consistent the entire night. Okay. The other thing I would say is one of the biggest reasons is overtired. I talked about it with my own children. It happens. Babies get overtired pretty easily at the end of the day, especially now when they're so active. It's hot outside, and it happens, right? Later to bed does not mean later to rise. It will cause early mornings, right? So you're going to get into a cycle of overtiredness. So what you can do is to catch up, even just for the first week, consider an earlier bedtime, consider a 6 p.m. bedtime to just catch up on the sleep. Because what's happening here is, especially if you're in a cycle of overtired, your baby can't catch up, right? So we're going to try to catch them up before they can get into a good cycle of sleep. The other thing is, this is a very common one, and actually I got a lot of questions about naps. So the timing of your first nap is going to be key here, and the length of your first nap, right? So if your little one is over 6 months old, you want to make sure that this nap is not too early. It cannot be too close to wake up time, okay? Or they're going to view it as a continuation of your night sleep. So if they're, 8:30 a.m. for babies that are 6 months or later, ideally I would look for a 9:30 nap 1. And so you want to make sure that it's not too close to wake up time. And a lot of parents do this, and I totally understand why. You're counting wake windows from the time that they actually got up. But you want to count wake windows from your ideal wake up time, okay? The reason why is, if we get our babies up at 5 a.m., we are setting their circadian rhythm to that time. We are saying to them, yes, this is the time to wake up, and we are reinforcing it. So there are 3 cues that tell our bodies that it's time to wake up, and that tell our biological clocks, yes, it's time to wake up. The 3 that are important here are light, food, and social interaction. Okay, those are 3 cues will tell our bodies, yes, you're awesome. Wake up like this tomorrow, right? And so we never want to start our day at 5 a.m. I know you might, and a lot of parents are like, oh, you know what? It's close enough. I'm just going to start my day, and, tomorrow they'll sleep in. And it usually is going to work against you, and it's setting their circadian rhythm to that time. So you want to make sure you're staying away from food, light, and social interaction. The other thing I didn't mention, and it's about the first nap, is if it's too long, it also counts as part of night sleep. And I want to explain why this is. Because your baby is, if it's too close to wake up time or too long, your baby is just thinking, okay, let's just say your nap is from 8 to 10. Right? Your baby's thinking, oh, I can't do that. Their body is like, I can't do that long stretch of sleep. I have to wake up at like 4 or 5 to build enough sleep pressure to do that nap. And so you're training them to wake up earlier to build that sleep pressure to do that. They are very smart. And so that's why you need to wait until you do nap 1, because we are going to shift their circadian rhythm later. And I'm going to kind of talk about how to troubleshoot that. But yeah, if Yeah, you always do the nap. So so if our kid consistently wakes up at 5 a.m. and won't go back to sleep, and your desired wake up time is 7, with a wake up time of 3 hours, we would never do the first nap until 10. So I would do like a 9 o'clock nap in that case, or a 9:30. And so the thing here is, I'm gonna give you an understanding of what you can do. So yes, and this is my main question here, is like, my baby cannot make it till 9:30 or 9 for this nap. They go nuts and they're overtired. What do I do? So one of the options is to introduce a bridge nap. Okay, you want to do this at around 7 a.m. if they've been up since 5 o'clock or before that. It's 10 minutes, guys. It's very short nap. It's just to relieve some sleep pressure. It's held however you can get it, 10-minute nap. The one thing I want to emphasize with this bridge nap, because it can be used against you, is you don't want to get used to having 2 naps in the morning, right? You want to get them to nap 1 and not be reliant on that bridge nap. So don't use it. This is like 2 days, right? Use it for the first few days just to get you enough to at least 9 o'clock for babies over 6 months. Or even just a baby that's 6 months and their wake window is not long enough, 8:30 is fine. But you want to use that bridge nap. Bridge naps work better for younger babies. They don't work as well for toddlers. Yes, you can use a bridge nap, Sharon, and it's always around 7 o'clock, 7:30. So all in the middle there, before your baby starts to lose it, you do a 10-minute nap, and then you wake them up. I know it's hard. You have to wake them up. The other thing is, wake them up at 7 o'clock every day, or whatever your determined wake up time is. Even if they fell asleep 10 minutes before. And I know that's going to be hard, but it's so important to set those wake up times so that their biological clocks know that that is the time to wake up. How do you wake up a baby like that? What I say, dramatic wake up. If you've been my client, you know about this. Lots of light exposure, lots of natural light. Take them to the window. We want to get their bodies to recognize that this is wake up time. Lots of food and lots of social interaction. Not lots of food, but food. And you want to give them those cues, right, on purpose. And so use those bridge naps as you need. If you don't use a bridge nap, if you have a toddler and they can make it till about 9, they will be overtired for the first week, but we are shifting their sleep cycles. We are shifting their clock. And so yes, we can expect a short morning nap or short nap, but then what I want you to do is think about doing like an afternoon cat nap for like 10, 20 minutes at the most, and then an early bedtime. So just catch them up with a few little naps, but only temporarily. This is not a long-term solution. I don't want you to be stuck doing 2 naps in the morning, or else you're not only going to have an early morning wake up, but you're going to have a 2 nap, like extra nap to deal with. Please don't do that. Just use the bridge naps as needed, a few days just to get you to your time. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention about psych Gerbers, and these are those external cues, is that if you've worked and done gentle sleep training, which is a very interactive, it's in the room, it's a lot of interaction, and it does count as social interaction. And so this is why gentle sleep training does not always work the best at 5 a.m. because it's a lot of stimulation. And not only are you going to wake them up more, but you're going to be giving them that cue that it's time to wake up. So I'm going to talk about how you can do that, something similar, but with less interaction. Does anybody have any questions so far? Was that clear? So I want you to go through all of these common causes before you start any of these solutions that I'm going to go through now. Okay. I would take the first week just to do this, just to fix this. Sometimes if you just get your baby not to be overtired, they'll go away. You know, it could be one of these things. Okay, so we're going to talk about some possible solutions, and I always want to be very clear that these are set solutions. They're not customized to your baby, so you need to make sure that your baby is not hungry, not hot. You are covering those bases, okay? The first one is your fast and effective solution. It's pretty simple. And it's going through your checklist. First of all, you choose a wake up time and you let them wait in bed until that desired wake up time. And you go in, that's always at the exact same time. So at 7 o'clock, lots of praise, lots of natural light. By fast and quick and effective, I mean like at least 3 weeks of this consistency. Your baby might cry, right? It does not last long. So this might not be the option for you if your baby is screaming at the top of their lungs and for the entire time. Okay, so use this. It is the fastest, and you should not have your baby crying for the entire time past the first like week or two. But use this and also see what your baby's temperament is. If your baby is going to get really upset by you going into the room, then it's always better to not make them mad and not make them that much more upset. So this is one option. You can wait until 7 a.m. and always get them up at that time. You will start to see that they might not wake up at 7 a.m. They might wake up at 6:30, but they'll be happy to wait in their crib and play, roll around. That's totally fine, right? We cannot control sleep. We can only, do our best to get them to shift that phase. And the more quiet and happy they are in their bed, the more likelihood that they're going to go back to sleep. So we want to get them used to that. I would treat any wake up before 6 a.m. not as an early morning, but as a night waking. So would you get your baby up at midnight if they woke up? No. So don't get them up at 5 a.m. because it's still considered a night waking. So try to think of it that way. Shift your thinking in that it's still considered a night waking. What would I do at midnight if this happened, right? You probably wouldn't get up and start making coffee. The next one is we're going to start gradually extending wake up times. So we're going to first go through our checklist as per usual, right? Make sure everything else is taken care of because we want to make sure that their conditions are ideal and we're not working against them. We want to set up your wake up time. Let's just say your baby's waking up 5 a.m. consistently, set it for 5:15. Okay. Once you get to 5:15, you're going to do a big wake up and exaggerated wake up. And then you're going to aim for 3 days at 5:15. And that should help move their wake up till 5:15. And then you're going to move it to 5:30 for the next 3 days. And then once they get used to that, you're going to move it to 5:45. So you're really only leaving them for 15 minutes at a time. They should not cry the entire time. You should start seeing that they're happy, at least happy in their cribs until that time. And yeah, like I said, lots of praise, this can also take 3 weeks. There's no really next day. You're looking at 3 weeks of consistently doing this, okay? The next one is the most gentle that we can do in this scenario is you always want to give them 5 to 10 minutes to go back to sleep. And if they don't go back to sleep, I want you to go into the room and quietly sit beside the crib and just use your voice to reassure them intermittently, right? So you're just going to sit beside the crib and use your voice. You'll have to see if your baby's temperament will allow this, but if they calm, then that's amazing. Every few minutes, you can just let them know mommy's here and reassure them that you're here. And just let your presence and proximity help support them, okay? If they stand up, you can occasionally lie them down, but I wouldn't be standing and lying them down every time. count like 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, lie them down, okay? You do this until 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., you do a dramatic wake up. The day has started. The next week, so that's for 1 week. The next week, you're gonna sit, but you're not gonna sit beside the crib anymore. You're gonna sit 2 meters from the crib. You're gonna talk less. You're not gonna touch, and you're gonna aim for 6:30. So you're gonna be gradually moving your way out of the room. As little interaction as possible. I would say like just quiet voice, right? When you come into the room, make sure the hall light is off so that you're not bringing light into the room either. You do that for a week until 6:30. Week 3, you do that, but you're sitting by the door. Do not lie them down. At this point, they should be able to lie themselves down because it's the 3rd week. And then 4th week, you do that, but you sit outside the door. You can open the door a crack, but I wouldn't let lots of light in. And you can use your voice infrequently. By that time, they should be okay to lie in their crib the entire time. There should not be very much crying either. And then the 4th option is a combination. You always let them settle for 5 to 10 minutes, see what happens. If they don't fall back asleep, or are at least happy in their crib, you can go in, you can lie them down, you can just shush. That's the only interaction that you're doing in the complete dark. You can leave. If you're in the room, it's only for a minute, like very short. You can leave, give them 10 minutes, come back. And then for the first week, give yourself till 6 a.m. 6 a.m., wake them up. The second week, give yourself till 6:30. And again, the 3rd week until 7 a.m. until you reach your determined wake up time. Okay. Now, if you decide that you want to do a gentle method at first, and you're finding that it's just not working for your baby, they're crying, especially when you're in the room, they're getting really upset, then you can speed it up and go with an out of the room. It really is up to you. I would not go with an out of the room and then go gentle because that's really confusing for them. So I would, if you're going to change it, I would always go with the gentle option and then move into the out of the room if you feel like, this is not working, but give it a few weeks, okay? It does really take some time. So signs that it is working and not to give up. If you're finding that they're crying less, there's less emotion, they start lying down, they're more content, they go back to sleep, which would be amazing. They lie down by themselves, or as you approach the crib, they'll lie down because they already know. They start to sleep in later and they're happy in their bed. Okay. My kids wake up at 6:30 sometimes or 6 o'clock, but they're happy in their bed, right? We don't get them up until 7. Yeah. So I'm going to answer all of your questions in just a minute. I know there might be a lot of questions. So we can walk through it together on a call. I want you to choose one of these. If you don't want to do any of these and you want something more customized, then I can talk to you about how to do that. But really, when it comes to gentle, there's a lot of picking up and putting down. There's a lot of, all those techniques are very involved, and that's okay at the beginning of the night because your sleep drive is really strong. At the end of in the morning time, it's not going to be effective, and I don't want you to waste your time. So book a call with me if you want to find something that you're comfortable with. If you need a follow-up call, I can give you the link to that. Actually, I included it, and it's $48 for an hour call if you need that support. But I'm hoping that with this, you'll be getting your marching orders and ready and confident to go ahead with what you need to do next. How did I do on time? Woo! Okay, we still have some time, guys. I think we have 15 minutes. Let me just hop into the Q&A box. Do we have any questions in there? Nope, not yet. I know you all have questions. Can you pop them into the Q&A so I can take a look here? Yeah, so Emily, yes, they will cry. Let's just say your baby does cry from 5 to 7. It really depends on what kind of crying. You should be seeing that taper off as they start to get used to their new wake up time, as their sleep cycles. If they start to cry less, like I said in the chart, if you start to see, okay, they're just happy, they're just rolling around, that's a good sign. That means it's working, and it does take time. It totally is your comfort, but yes, it will, it's not forever. Okay. It's not gonna be a long-term thing. Let's see. So with option 2, if they can wait longer than 15 minutes, i.e. lie down in their crib, do we just go longer? Oh, done. I don't know how that works. Yeah, you can, if they wait longer, like do it by 15 minutes. If you want to do longer, that's even better. But also know that they probably like set a wake up time at the beginning of this, so you know what time you ideally want them to wake up. And if they do till 7 o'clock and you were doing like a 15-minute stretch, then perfect. Then you've done it, right? So see what works for you. But I always do that gradual, so that you don't, one, it's less crying, less stress for everybody. And you're moving it, but you're moving it slowly, and you're going to see results slowly. You should start seeing after 3 days that the crying is less, or they're able to lie down in their crib happy, or they're falling back asleep. And every 3 days we're pushing just a little bit. I've been feeding her at 5:30, and then she's usually goes back to sleep until 8. She's 7 months. Should I stop the feed? She is nursing and eating 3 meals a day on solids. Nicole, how old is your little one? It really depends on whether you're ready to drop it. I always say if they're okay during the night, they should be okay from 5:30 to 7. But every baby is different. We can talk about that on your call. But yes, food will reinforce the wake up. Obviously, if your baby needs the food, they need the food, right? But they don't need it to fall asleep. If you find they're falling asleep actively while feeding, then that might be something else. But I would see if they can wait, even at just a little bit, maybe push that feed out just a little bit and see if they can wait, or start to reduce the feed. Maybe feed 2 ounces less each time to start to reduce the feed, and they will start to eat more during the day, especially if your little one is older. They will start to eat more. Just make sure they get lots of protein and carbohydrates in their diet, so it doesn't so they're not really actually hungry at that time. Kathy says, you mentioned about not having a nightlight. I use this to nurse in the middle of the night so I could see, but I should be removing it from the room from now on. So Kathy, I would, you can use it to nurse. Obviously you need to see, but just don't leave it in the room on the entire night, because that will wake them up in the morning. And if you do want one, there are red lights that will not be stimulating to the brain that you can use. But yeah, totally. And what I usually do when my daughter was nursing or feeding at night, I would open the hall door, which has a little light from the hallway, and then feed, and then close it again. So it's not on the entire time. Sharon says, how do you manage the 2-to-1 nap transition with the toddler? Since one nap drop, my daughter has been waking up before 6 a.m. It's been a few weeks, or is this also due to the 18-month regression? So it could be, Sharon, it could be a number of things. It could be the 18-month regression, but what usually happens with the 2-to-1 nap transition, it's the hardest transition to happen. And your baby will get overtired for the week or two, and you will have to deal with some early wake ups, but you just stick to what you're doing, stick to consistency, throw in those cat naps, throw in like a little cat nap at the end of the day if you need to just catch them up. But it's very common, and a lot of wake ups are because your baby is overtired, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be permanent. It's just a blip, right? Emily asks, what time length should afternoon nap be? Depends on how many naps your little one is having. Usually an afternoon or a lunch nap is good, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And as they drop the second nap or to one nap, then you're looking at 2 to 2.5 hours. Also, my daughter sometimes wakes in the middle of the night thirsty and then goes back to sleep after she has water. How do I fix this? Lots of water during the day, maybe a feed before bed or a sippy cup of water before bed. Yeah, this is a thing that you want to make sure you cross off your list, that they're not thirsty at that time as well. But it's just about just giving them a sippy cup of extra water during the day so that they are hydrated before going to bed, and they should be able to last the night. And also make sure that they're not sucking to sleep, right? So that's not a suck to sleep association. If it's just a sip of water, it shouldn't be. Jewel says, Joshy wakes up happy and just plays babbles on his own. I pick him up at 7. Can't seem to figure out what to do. Nothing. That's awesome. You can't force the baby to sleep until 7. There are babies that just wake up at 6:30 or at 6, right? So if they're happy in their crib, they can wait for you until 7 o'clock, and then you start your day at the same time. The likelihood is that as he gets older, he's going to start to sleep in later, but everybody has their own wake up times. And so if they're happy, you should be happy to sleep in until that time. I know they might wake you up, so turn down your monitor and they're okay, all right? What bedtime do you suggest for a 9-month-old? If his last nap is from 1 to 2:15, 3-hour naps a day. So you're looking at closer to a 3-hour wake window, 2:15, 3:54. So I would say just for the first week while you're working on this, Molly, try to aim for a 6 o'clock bedtime and try to aim for that consistent early bedtime just for the first week to catch them up. And then you can start pushing bedtime later if you need. But if they're waking up at 2:15, you're looking at a 3-hour wake window. So 5:50, you can do bedtime even as early as 5:30, like I did today with my daughter, just to catch them up. You're ideally looking for a little bit of a longer nap there. And so you might need to start working on naps to lengthen those naps so that you can get a later bedtime. But you want to aim for about 2.5 hours of day sleep, between 2.5 and 3 hours. Yeah, Jules, I don't, if they're thirsty, that they will not fall asleep ever. Like they will not give in. When they're thirsty, a baby's thirsty or hungry, they will fall asleep maybe for 20 minutes. And so you can check, you can wake them, you can get up one day at 4:30 and not try to see if they, not give them a drink and see what happens, see if they're crying. I think that if you work on just giving them a lot of fluids during the day, you can be confident that they're not thirsty. But I know that's a worry for a lot of parents. So that's why you need to be okay and work on that during the day. Make sure that that's crossed off your checklist. Sharon said, for voice calming, can we speak through the monitor speaker? Yeah, for sure you can. Sometimes it's a lot louder than your actual voice. So just be careful with that too. You don't want to scare them and like, that's a lot, right? And see if that calms them. Do whatever you need to do to calm your baby without the interaction. Blair says, thank you, Lily. Am I okay to put my son down for his first nap around 12.5 months? Yeah, you are. That's a great nap time. Just make sure, Blair, that it's not too long so that it doesn't become a part of night sleep. Try to limit your naps as they get older. Try to shorten them. So you're looking at like, as they, when they're younger, you can have an hour nap, but as they get closer to a year and closer to dropping that nap at 18 months, then you're making it 45 minutes, even half an hour. If my determined wake time is 6 a.m., sorry, I lost that question. Do I do what you suggest as of 5 a.m. and then keep extending 15 minutes every 3 days? Yeah, for sure. Amanda, you can keep extending if you want your baby to wake up at 6, keep doing it every 3 days, keep extending it by 15 minutes. Are bridge naps okay for an 18-month-old if they wake up at 5:30? What time should the bridge nap be? If baby wakes up crying before desired wake up time, do you let them cry? How long? So I think I answered this in the questions, but the bridge nap, like I said, 18 months, you know, they might take the bridge nap, they might not. You might just have to deal with an overtired baby just for a little bit, but I promise you it will help to shift their sleep cycles. Crushed it, Lily. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I hope this was helpful. I have a question here about poops. About 50% of the time, our baby will poop and need to change during the early morning wake period. Do you recommend leaving them for that amount of time according to one of your plans? No. So this is the only time I would go in and change. If there's a poop, it's a poop. Like, they're not going to be comfortable. Go in the complete dark. Change in the dark. Same if there's spit up, change in the dark and put back to bed. Do whatever you would do in the middle of the night without having to get up and start your day. Okay. But do what you have to do. Obviously, you never want to leave your baby with a poopy diaper, but use your judgment in that too. Just try to keep it as little interaction as possible. Right. And even if it's a toddler and you're like, oh, Philip, go back to sleep. I told you, like, that is interaction. That is social interaction. So any negative or positive interaction, no, just don't say anything or just shush. If you really want to say something, just shush. Yeah. One last question. Our 9-month-old will wake up consistently between 4 and 4:30 for the past 3 months. She wakes up screaming bloody murder. We have managed to get her to 5:30, 6:15. Amazing. But that's only because we started doing a feed when she wakes between 4 and 4:30. I'm guessing this will be better addressed during a phone call. We have a twin, other twin is good. So yeah, what I would do is start to wean that feed if you can. But you want to do that slowly because she might be dependent on that feed now. And it's also reinforcing that wake up. So at 9 months, I would just make sure that we're solid on their nutrition, that they're getting enough protein, that you are confident, and you're going to slowly start to wean that feed so you can start adding in more food. They will start eating more during the day. But I think at that point, you can be confident that they don't need that feed. And it's just kind of just the beginning of their day. So yeah, totally. We can talk about it on the phone as well. Okay, guys. So let me know if you found this helpful, if I was able to answer your questions. You know, I know it's hard to get your baby out of overtired. I hear you. It's almost like a cycle. You're just like so frustrated. But I promise you that, you know, it does take time. It takes 3 weeks to see results. And this is why parents get so frustrated. Please don't get frustrated. And I know how hard that can be. So try to add in those naps, be as consistent as possible. Never get up before your desired wake up time, unless you want to reinforce that. And do what you can, right? Like, if you don't feel comfortable leaving them until that time, go in and just leave them for 5 minutes. If 15 minutes is too long, leave them for 5. Just give them the opportunity to go back down to sleep. You can do this. It's a hardest sleep problem to fix, but you can fix it. It just takes you to just stick it out till the end, okay? And I promise you, I will be here if you need me for support. So that's it. That is the masterclass. You will get a PDF download after this tomorrow morning, and you will also get a call link. And if you need more support, there is a discount for that if you do need it. But I hope that you're all going to be doing well. I wish you all a wonderful night. Go to bed if you're going to be waking up early, but let's start to implement. Talk to your partners. Start to see if you can implement even just some of these things. I promise you it'll make a world of a difference. Mwah. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon. Let's see.